Yeah, good morning, sir. Ambassador Robert Masozera. Do tell us, give us a snapshot about yourself.
So, as you say, my name is Robert Masozera. I'm currently the Director General of the Rwanda Cultural Heritage Academy. This is a public institution, is a government institution created in November 2020. So with the mission to preserve the Rwandan cultural heritage, to safeguard also the national language, Kinyarwanda, and to promote the culture and cultural values. So it is within that context that the national museums, the archives, the cultural institutions, the creative industry are really under our responsibilities. But before that position, I was also the Director General of the Institute of National Museums of Rwanda.
Whose headquarters is in Uye?
In Huye.
Yes.
And before that, I served very long time as diplomat.
Oh, okay.
So I served as the ambassador of Rwanda to Belgium and to the European Union
Oh, really?
between 2011 till 2016. So, and before that, I served also in other diplomatic positions, either in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also abroad. I served also in Germany as deputy ambassador. So I'm my background, my education background, I'm a political science. So I did political science and communication, but I majored in international relations and diplomacy in Austria, in the University of Vienna. So this is what I can say as short background. Yeah.
So you alluded to something some minutes ago. Why this institution was established, founded in 2020? Why is it necessary? Why is it necessary for Rwanda to safeguard, like you said, safeguard historical and cultural archives?
Yes, the Rwanda as a country geographically is nothing if it lacks some intangible part of this. So cultural heritage. So Rwanda is very rich in terms of heritage, and the Rwandan heritage is diverse, as from natural heritage, cultural heritage, and the people, the way they are living, and the values. So Rwanda needs to preserve this cultural heritage to really keep its identity. So to have, so we are living in a planet, but in a continent, but each country has its own identity. So the government of Rwanda, since after the genocide against the Tutsi, when you look at the priorities, just after the aftermath, there was no security, there was emergency activities, there was reconstruction. But after that phase, we start to realize that now it's a phase of the nation building. You know, people start to know, well, what is our identity? What's our language? Who are we? What is the history?
Question.
So they started to really even to question themselves about their background. So it was a shock when you look at the history of Rwanda before colonial period. Rwanda used to be, really a very united, strong nation. Then after we had really hard time brought by colonialists, and they divided, they bring all this. Then after that, people realized, our history was distorted. Now the government of Rwanda, in putting in place these institutions, so people really want to refine the connection with their ancestors, with their tradition.
To discover.
Yes, so because people were really disconnected with their grassroots. So now this institution is there to really to reconnect people with their origin, with their ancestors, with their traditions, and it is very, very important. Culturally, it's very important. Spiritually, it's very important. So that's why this institution is established. It was also there before, but in a fragmented way. So because this institution in 2020 came just to merge three different institutions which used to exist. On one part, we had the Institute of National Museum, for which I was the Director General. We had another institution in charge of archives and library service, which was a separate one, and another one in charge of Kinyarwanda. So the government said, no, let's merge all those three. So that's what happened. And because there are some overlaps,
Interesting. To the present. Recently, some weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, middle of October, last week in October 2021, the Academy received a copy of Rwandan digital sounds and songs recorded between 1954 to 2005. Sir, do elucidate on these historical recordings and how such recordings were not initially domiciled here in Rwanda.
Yes, so the question is if
do elaborate on these historical recordings,
yes,
and how come such recordings were not initially here in Rwanda, domiciled here in Rwanda.
Okay. So we received these musical archives. It is actually a digital musical archives comprising over 4,000 songs and dances, precisely 4,095 songs and dances, traditional. As you said, they were recorded between 1954 up to 2007. So they are diverse. They are really divided into different categories. We have their royal court music, we have war dances, we have ritual music inside, and you have a large number of songs related to agricultural works, cattle hunting, festive songs. So many, they are really diverse and they were played on different instruments as well. Drums, sitars, these traditional instruments. So these songs were collected during the colonial period. So the colonialists or the researchers during that period collected the best songs in terms of quality, in terms of genius, in terms of sacredness, and so they collected all these songs, but not only the songs and dances. They also collected some other objects, artifacts, ethnological, archaeological, so archives. So they took all these archives or this heritage to their country. So I'm talking here about Europeans, mostly countries which colonized this country. So this Belgium and Germany actually. So these archives, in particular these songs, were part of a big number of this heritage held now today in Belgium. So when they took this heritage, of course, there was a purpose. The purpose was to research, to say, are African really, they are different from our race. They had a theory, a colonial divisionist theory. So they wanted to show that Rwandan are divided in Hutu, Tutsis. They are primitive. They are versus Belgium or European. The white are superior to this. So they wanted to have evidence, to show evidence that people are not similar. So they divided the Rwandan people into three ethnic. And because that was not enough for them, they wanted also to show that those three people, Hutu, Tutsi, are also different in their way of, singing, dancing.
Mannerisms.
So that's why we got surprised when we received these songs and dance. They are also categorized in ethnic groups.
Really?
So a song, say, this is a Hutu song, this is a Tutsi song. So, but we were not surprised because actually this was the theory by that time. Yes.
Yeah.
So they would say, these songs are from this specific ethnic group, and this instrument is only played something which is really misrepresented, which is not corrected. That's why we say really these artifacts, these heritage should be repatriated and decolonized, because you look at so this is to answer why they were not here. So they kept all this for long time. So these 4,000 songs, yes, they are recorded since 1945, but they are back, the date back long time. So some of them are during the royal or monarchy.
Usually early 19th century.
Yes, 19th century. Actually, yes, actually.
Early 19th century,
yes,
that's
yeah,
before
yeah,
1954.
Yeah. So they actually what they have in Belgium is more than what we preserve here in our museum. If you combine the artifacts we have and archives we have here in Rwanda, it's less than.
And what is in Belgium?
Yes.
So the 4,000 songs and dances, digital songs and dances that were returned, is not all of it is. There's still more in Belgium.
There's still more. So what we receive is only from one museum, the Royal, the museums of Tervuren museum. So, but there are many other institutions, museums. There are also private people who collect.
Yes.
So there are a large number of others still.
Okay. So Rwanda, the government is still in the process of getting access to those historical artifacts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because what happened is actually not the restitution of the Rwandan heritage held in Belgium, because that restitution has not yet taken place in due form. What happened was just a donation from that museum to our institution because of the law. So the proper restitution of others will happen through other
proper channels.
But the government of Rwanda has requested officially.
Okay, that's good. What are some of the, if you don't mind, who are some of the Rwandan musicians whose songs are on the digital package, which was handed over to Rwandan Cultural Heritage Academy by the Royal Museum in Belgium?
Many of those songs received are unknown to the public. Rwanda, really, over 85% are totally unknown to the public.
Unknown.
It's the first time we got to know about this.
So basically, even some of this, basically saying even some of the songs, we don't know the artist.
So the people who collected them in the archives we got, of course, now we can see, but there are people we don't know, except few of them. There is one very popular called Rujindiri. Rujindiri is a very popular
folk singer.
Yes,
folklore singer.
Yeah. So who is he plays on sitar, you know? Okay. And there is another one called Sebatunzi. These are the only people can really know public, but others
unknown.
Are known.
So basically, the digital archives returned to Rwanda. Each song has a name.
Yes, because the researchers took time to say, this is from there. This song was in this time, in this place.
Sung by so person.
Yes.
But the thing is, from the research you and your team have done, a large part of those names are unknown. A large part of unknown. So basically, a large part of Rwanda's cultural heritage and history was stored in the West for decades.
That's it.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
What would become of these recorded tunes, these recorded songs and dances? What would become of them since they are now in Rwanda? What would become of them?
Oh, So it's like you ask the benefit, how
Yes,
will-
what would be, since they are not in Rwanda, what would happen to them?
Okay.
Would they be released to the public?
So now,
What does the institute think?
yes. So remember that we have it in a digital
Format.
format. So this will, the dissemination will become easy.
Okay.
So we intend to, and it belongs to the Rwandan people. This is not for the museum. So we really receive this for the benefit for the national. So we will make them accessible in our national library and in the national museums. People can access them there. And we are now we are setting up the system where they can access through internet. But before that, of course, there are some work. As I told you, these songs are misrepresented. There are some mistakes because it is not acceptable to say this popular song is from this particular group, all these things. And this is what happened when African heritage reached European museums. They were misrepresented. So we are happy to receive them so that we really correct all these mistakes. So
Filter,
yeah,
things that have to be filtered.
So we might not even filter. Because people also need to know how
the thinking was there.
Yes, so we will not delete all this, but we will say people, okay, this music, this song, this dance, it is a Rwandan, but when it reached outside, look how it was, and this was to support their theory of. So we actually, that's why we say this. It is very important to have these archives for education purposes, the research purpose. So people will benefit, everyone will benefit from these archives. Artists, artists will benefit from these archives because they represent really, it is an inspiration for them. So these archives are of very great value culturally, because they embody, when you listen to the content, they really embody the cultural values, the identity. So we think that artists will get inspired in terms of content, in terms of even the pride. So they are also of great value spiritually, because as I told you, they selected really the best specimen, because when you hear the quality and the content, for example, the ritual songs, something people didn't know about. That's when you understand how really Rwandan were disconnected for a very long time with the system. There is a gap created by the fact that these songs were taken away. So this created a huge gap in knowledge of the Rwandan people. So we think when people will start to access to them, we say, oh, wow, our ancestors were so genius. So when you look at the rhythm, the melody, you say, wow, this is really. So the artists will be happy to have this. The scientific community because this is really primary source of information, which will help people to to collect, even to create even some new hypotheses, in the history, whatever, in the education.
Interesting. So, what about since this has to do with music and dance? What about I'm looking at it from the intellectual property perspective. So, since this archives received of Rwandan musicians that people didn't know of, is there a possibility that probably some of them have even passed away? There's a large probability that a lot of them have passed away. And since it is intellectual property, is there a possibility that the institution will try to trace the musician's family? Since this will go online, how is it going to work? If it goes online, will it be that people can access it free, or if it's like on Spotify, they would pay, how Spotify works, so that the royalties collected from people paying to listen to these songs would also benefit the family members of the musicians who must have passed away. Is that also consideration?
We are going to look at all
the factors. Yes.
But as we saw them for the first place, first time, many of those songs now belong to the public domain. They are really older than 50 years. In Rwanda, the law, I think, is 50 years, 25 years. After that,
it belongs to the public
domain. Yeah? But there are some other new songs, because I told you recordings. We have also some songs after the independence, actually.
Okay.
Very recent one, political songs in the First Republic, Second Republic. Actually, the ideology of genocide, we also have seen some songs of 1963, 64 up to 1990, before incredible songs which really
evoke emotion.
Okay. So they are recent ones. For those, of course, there are So we are So you have asked how will it work? Of course, I think we will keep them in the National Library and the National Museums. And Spotify, why not? So it will depend on each. So we'll see.
Yes. The decisions on that have not yet been.
Because we think start with really making them public. You can access them in the internet, and at least have a piece of, not the whole.
Not the whole, just snippets of.
Snippets of, this is allowed in IP.
Yes. Snippets.
So if you want to have the whole, then you can.
You go to where you purchase them. Because that would also creativity is not free.
Yes.
That's good. To the final question. Two more questions. Have you gone through all the 4,000 songs? No.
So now our research department is
going through them. And what has the feedback from the research department been?
So they are excited, very much excited.
Interesting.
Very, very much. It's really a discovery for them. But they have also seen some challenges. For example,
those.
yes.
Mm.
For example, for example, this categorization
Okay.
of music in Latins.
In different parts. Yes.
And also, number two, some songs also carry hatred message. Mostly the message of things. And but the linguists in the literature, they are discovering some new vocabulary words of Kinyarwanda words
that are not being used presently.
The present. So you see, they are really discovering. That's why we say it's a huge potential for everyone, mostly scientific research community. So we are now going one to one. So 4,000 is a lot, but I have a staff already doing this, and actually we are planning to organize a talk show at
to showcase
at the radio, TV.
Interesting.
So
the 4,000 songs are all of they are digital. Are some audio and others are visual?
All of them are audio.
Audio. Interesting. And when would the institute be ready to showcase?
When all this setting is in place.
When everything is in place.
Yes, but we really want to do it quickly.
As soon as possible.
Yes. But even before that, there's something we have already started to meet with different categories, the artists in their federation. We are going to have their gathering and just have what we call Kiganiro, is to presentation. We plan to go to the Belgium TV, national TV, and other radio to talk about these archives, and but other technical, internet, digital. This is taking some time. Yes, but people will know. We will make it is public so that people know
about
it.
Interesting. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.